Hi guys, my name is John Talley, engineer, engine sub in Conway Fire Department. First off, we'll start and say Conway Fire Department nor myself assume any responsibility for this video, anything that happens, any misactions taken. If you don't know about chainsaws, get someone competent to teach you how to use one. This is not meant to be a training video. This is just showing some of the guys at our department some of the different styles of chains there are out there, what we run, and what we've noticed as far as safety things about them. One of the things we noticed is our journeyman program that we do teaches use of chainsaws and different techniques for ventilation of structures. One thing that has not been mentioned as far as the journeyman program is safety issues with the chainsaws, teaching about chainsaw kickback or anything along that nature. So today we're going to cover a few things under ANSI B 175.1, which is a low safety or low kickback chainsaw safety standard. We'll go over a couple of different chains. First off, we'll start with this one here. This is one of our steel bars. This is one of my personal ones, a little limb saw. This chain here, there's two different grades of chains. There's a yellow chain and a green chain. This would be one of the green chains. If you notice on the rakers right here, on the front end of the bar, there's two rakers instead of one. And what they're designed to do is as it rolls around the nose of the bar, this raker pretty much stands out even or past the actual cutter tooth and keeps it from digging in to help prevent kickback on the bar. Anytime we're using the bars, this top section of the bar up here, about this top quarter of the bar, try to keep that out of the wood or keep it from being your main cutting zone. That's where your kickback primarily occurs, when this tooth actually digs in right there and forces the bar back. It'll be a little easier to see on the big saw here since the bar is already mounted. This next chain here, this is again one from home. This is a steel chain. This is a 33 RS. This is what we use on the sort chainsaws here. This chain you'll see is not a green chain like the other one. This one is a yellow chain, one of the professional model chains. All of the yellow chains will have a yellow link inside the chain right there. That means it's not a low kickback chain. When you look at the different design of it, the rakers on the front, you'll have a single raker up here, followed by a cutter tooth, which is a full chisel round filed tooth. When this goes around the end of the bar, we'll kind of try to use my finger here, but when this follows around the end of the chainsaw bar, you'll notice that the cutter tooth has a large gap between the raker, unlike the safety chain there, where that digs in. If your saw is running at wide open RPM, if you're cutting through something and that top of that nose digs in, it causes the bar to kick back hard. What we want to do is just be aware of that and different ways to prevent that. Now, one thing we've noticed with different chainsaw designs, we actually tried on our saw this morning. This is one of our vent saws off the engine. It has a double raker chain. It's carbide tips, what we call the Raptor chain. That's one of the brand names, model names of it. There's several different manufacturers that make this chain. What you see different here, this chain essentially, you take this single cutter chain here with a single raker, and what they do building this chain is they actually take that single cutter right there, they file that cutter back to where it's shorter, and they add another raker on this other side of it with a carbide tip in the front, using that original cutter link right there for a backup, kind of to stiffen that carbide cutter. It's referred to as a double raker carbide tip chain. It's our Raptor chain. They're actually soldered together in the middle. And what we noticed out here this morning, we actually tried to make this kick back in some wood. The double raker design, as it rolls around the front of the bar, actually when it comes around this top section, these two rakers almost keep that carbide tip from digging in right there. It's actually very hard to plunge cut or actually make it kick back. It has a very mild reaction, very low kickback. So on this bar here, we'll try not to cut with that top tip, but this one will not be as violent kickback as what you'll have if you're running one of the sort chainsaws, whereas it's done folded up on me here, but this chain right here, when it comes around the end, it has a much larger gap than that from that single design. What that actually does is when that chain tries to stop spinning is what happens with kickback. Your chain pinches. There's two different kinds. There's a pinch back or push back, which actually happens along the top section of the bar if you're cutting a piece of wood from underneath coming up. when it tries to pinch down and pinch that chain, it'll make the saw push back towards you. That's the more mild reaction of it. The rotational linear kickback is what happens off the top nose of the bar, where if you're going down, cutting a big log, if you had a little limb or something on the other side you didn't see, always make sure you know what's on the other side of it. But if you didn't see this little limb here, when that bar comes down over through your big log you're cutting, if that front tip gets into that, it actually causes a linear kickback, which when the saw kicks, it'll kick real hard and violent. That's why your actual chain breaks on here, and we test all those, or you should be testing them every time you start the saws. If you have any problems with that chain brake, get with Captain Groves or someone, get that fixed, because you heard it click right there, and that's what it's designed to do. When that chain kicks back, it's designed to stop the chain. If it comes out of your hand and hits you, you want it to work. You want that to stop the chain before it hits you. On the sort saws, they'll be a little bit different if you guys are running those. A lot of times we have overtime people come in and help us on big incidents like that. If you're running one of the sort chainsaws, just be aware that those are not low kickback chains. They're round 5 full chisel chains. And if you pinch them or if you bind them or you get the top of that bar into something, they will kick back hard, unlike the Raptor chain here. And we always teach with the ventilation, we do the plunge cut first. This chain will plunge cut. It doesn't plunge cut near as good as the single raker chain. But when you plunge cut through the wood, we come down, you always cut with the front end of the bar. And that's one reason you never notice any kickback. And this one here does very little at all anyway, but when you come down through the end of the wood and you start coming back to find your stud, just be aware that when you feel that stud, one way to help prevent it, try to keep your saw angled down level. Keep your actual wood line up on the bar off of that nose right there, and that'll prevent all of it. When you hit that, if you did hit it and get a little kickback, your saw is going to kick across the roof. So always when you're cutting, stay behind the saw bar, don't be in front of it. Keep your feet and everything behind it. If it does kick back, it'll kick out to the side, and it's not going to be as violent with this one as it will a different chain. Just a couple things to be aware of, and if you guys have any questions or comments, get with myself or Captain Skinner and we'll try to answer them and help you guys out. Thanks.